So should the Dalai Lama have visited Arunachal Pradesh? Has this visit really been worth it, or was it badly timed? Our panel on Talking Point tonight. Joining us now, Dr. Srinath Raghavan of the Center for Policy Research, Sonam Dogel, President, Regional Tibetan Youth Congress, and the Venerable N. Ram, Editor-in-Chief of The Hindu. I want to come to you, Mr. Ram, right at the top. Do you believe that this visit was ill-timed? That you believe that in terms of the delicate nature of India-China relations, this was not the time for the Dalai Lama to be visiting Arunachal?
Absolutely ham-handed in its timing, because the Dalai Lama is primarily a politician. And look at the papers. In Tawang, Dalai Lama slams China. Every paper has had that headline. And His Holiness, the politics of His Holiness is anything but holy, because he's really leading a separatist campaign, whatever he says. And the Tibetan Youth Congress, which has threatened violence and so on, is committed to independence. You see, Rajdeep, India is bound by several declarations, the last major one coming in 2003, and I'll quote from it. The Indian side recognizes that the Tibet Autonomous Region is part of the territory of the People's Republic of China, and reiterates that it does not allow Tibetans to engage in anti-China political activities in India. And the Dalai Lama, whatever he says, his conduct is anything but holy in a political sense.
All right, we actually have a member of the Regional Tibetan Youth Congress with us. Mr. Dogal, answer that. India has given China repeated assurances that the Dalai Lama, that Tibetans living in India will not be able to undertake political activity, and yet it seems like there are political statements made in the interest of better relations between India and China. Should the Dalai Lama have put off that visit?
No, I don't think so that His Holiness visit should be put off, because wherever his visit has been much politicized, not because of him, but because of the reaction from the Chinese point. Because wherever he visits, China used to blame for the even and any activity, whatever it is, be it socio-political or
Okay, let me come to Srinath for a moment. Srinath, let's look at the bigger point that N. Ram is making, and we'll question him on that. If Mr. Ram is to be believed, the Dalai Lama should not have gone to Arunachal. Now, if he had not gone to Arunachal, would it have not been a sign of even bigger Indian weakness to that extent? Wasn't it imperative for the Dalai Lama to be in Arunachal at a time like this?
Well, India's policy towards the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan question has always been something of a balancing act. Dalai Lama and his followers were given refuge in India, primarily on humanitarian and cultural grounds. But India has always insisted simultaneously that we will not allow them to undertake political activities on Indian soil. Now, the reason why India has taken that stance is because we do not want our policy towards Tibet to have a negative impact on our relations with China. Now, this sort of a nuanced policy is always open to attack from at least two different directions. On the one hand, you had the Chinese, who have repeatedly told us that we are not doing enough to curb the Tibetans in India. They are also suspicious about whether India would use the Dalai Lama to play the so-called Tibetan card against China. And some of these concerns have been voiced in official writings in the past week.
But should he have gone or not? Should he have gone? What's your view? Should he have gone to Arunachal or not? Shouldn't India assert its territorial right over Arunachal at a time like this, rather than succumb to Chinese pressures?
Well, India's territorial rights towards Arunachal are not contingent upon the Dalai Lama's visiting there. We have an agreement which was signed with Tibet in 1914, which defined the McMahon line, and India's legal and territorial claims to Arunachal Pradesh are based on those. So we do not need to look to the Dalai Lama to sort of rubber stamp our claims, as it were.
But you're saying...
So I think the Indian government has done...
Go ahead.
Just the right... Yeah, I think the Indian government has done the right thing.